It has been exactly 1 week since the devastating flooding in Kerr County, and here is the latest. The number of people who lost their lives in Kerr County remains at 96. The number of missing also remains at 161 there. Statewide, 120 people tragically have died in that flooding. The body of a Tuscany Heights elementary school student who went missing in the Hill Country floods has been recovered. 11-year-old Emmy Jeffrey went to visit her grandparents, Penny and Emlyn Jeffrey, for the July 4th holiday, but they all went missing shortly after the storms hit in Hunt. Penny and Emlyn's bodies have been recovered. They were recovered on Monday. This morning, we have dispatch audio where we can hear calls for a code red emergency alert in Kerr County. It helps us piece together the time frame local officials have yet to share about their response when the Guadalupe was rising. An Ingram volunteer firefighter is heard telling a county sheriff dispatcher at 4:22 a.m. about the rising water, and he's requesting a code red. A code red is a notification system that some agencies use to send emergency alerts to subscribers' cell phones. Here's a clip of that audio that we've been able to obtain.
Is there any way we can send a code red out to our Hunt residents asking them to find higher ground or stay home?
10-4 standby. We have to get that approved with our supervisor.
Now, it's still unclear at what time that code red alert finally went out. Local officials have largely sidestepped questions about it. Kerrville Mayor Joe Herring Jr. telling reporters this week that the only notification that he received was at 6 a.m. That would be about an hour and a half later. We will, of course, continue to work to get answers about that response. Well, President Donald Trump now weighing in on the lack of sirens in Kerrville. In an exclusive phone interview with NBC's Kristen Welker, the president says, quote, "I think the local officials loved those children, loved those people, and nobody ever saw a thing like this coming. This is a once in every 200-year deal, and I think when you get right down to it, now in retrospect, after seeing this horrible event, I would imagine you'd put alarms up in some form where alarms would go up if they see any large amounts of water or whatever it is." Well, happening today, President Donald Trump is visiting Kerr County in just a few hours to survey the flood damage as residents seek relief from FEMA. News 4 San Antonio's Tom Bosco spoke with people outside a recovery center about what they're hoping to hear from the president.
My name is Riley and I'm 8 years old.
What is your name?
Avery Brown, and I'm 7 years old.
7 and 8, the same ages as some of the girls who died when Camp Mystic was swept away. But Riley and Avery were with their dad at the Blue Oak RV park when the water rose.
And there was people screaming and yelling and all that. And they were in the car trying to look, so I just turned around and got them out of there.
Dad taking good care of you in all this?
Yes.
Good, good. Justin is taking good care of his girls, despite the fact they don't have a place to live. The girls came with Dad to the FEMA Disaster Recovery Center that just opened Thursday. What are they going to do for you?
I'm not sure yet. They're working on it, and it's a waiting game now. Right now, they're trying to find temporary housing for us.
And then they knocked again, and they said, "Get out now."
Less than a week out from the disaster, Diane Masson still gets emotional talking about escaping her RV at Rio Robles.
The person that was helping us out had to push the car away so we could get out. And then he got out with the dog, and then the guy helped me.
She and her husband got some reassurance here.
FEMA says that they can help with the things that insurance won't.
President Donald Trump will be in Kerrville Friday. Justin Brown says he wants to go see him.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But not to complain.
If this is anybody's fault, I think it's going to be a city and local county and city issue.
What do you want him to say when he sees this or think?
All we can do is have better readiness next time. That's all we can do. And hopefully it doesn't happen again.
Diane, however, sees it differently.
I hope that he sees the truth and figures out how this shouldn't have happened next time, and that there should have been an alarm system. Why did they wait till the water's this high to knock on my door? I don't understand.
That was Tom Bosco reporting. Now, if you need help from FEMA, you can call their helpline. The number to dial, 1-800-621-3362. You can also go to disasterassistance.gov. You can also apply to the FEMA app. Well, this morning, we're also hearing from U.S. Senator from Texas, Ted Cruz, on the flooding disaster and the big, beautiful bill. He said the scope of the disaster is still being assessed, but he took time to thank the countless number of first responders and volunteers who were on the ground saving lives.
And every time there's a disaster, Texans come together. They help each other. And so there were over 850 high water rescues during the flooding. You had over a dozen helicopters in the air from the Coast Guard, from the National Guard, from Texas DPS. You had game wardens pulling people out of harm's way.
Now, Cruz says that he had two daughters that had gone to camp near Hunt in the area of Camp Mystic. He said his youngest daughter had just been picked up from a camp a week before the deadly flooding. Senator Cruz also talked about some of the specifics for the big, beautiful bill for taxes on tips and overtime. Let's listen.
So on top of that, there are a lot of new elements in this bill that I think are really important for Texans. One element is no tax on tips. And that I wrote that portion of the bill. That is my legislation that is in the one big beautiful bill. And it means if you're a waiter, if you're a waitress, if you're a bartender, if you're a barber or a hairstylist, if you're work at a nail salon, if you're a taxi cab driver, there are millions of Americans who rely on tips for a significant part of their earnings, and those tips are now tax-free. That provides real relief for people who need it. Another component that's in this bill is no tax on overtime. And again, there are millions of Americans who work overtime, work 45 or 50 or 60 or maybe even 70 or 80 hours a week, and now that overtime is tax-free. And that means if you're a single mom working extra shifts to provide for your kids, that's real dollars in your pockets to help pay bills.
Well, he goes on to say he supports President Donald Trump's bill with removing taxes from Social Security for seniors, too, as well as school choice for Texans, calling it a civil rights issue where families will now be able to use state-funded scholarships to afford sending their kids to schools they want as parents. This morning, Governor Greg Abbott is requesting more counties be added to the president's major disaster declaration. That includes Kendall County. President Trump had previously approved a disaster declaration for Kerr County. Welcome back, everyone, at 4:42, and continuing our team coverage on what's happening in the Hill Country with News 4's Taylor Whartonby. She spoke with a rancher who says despite all the destruction and unfortunate death the Hill Country has experienced the past week, there is still some hope.
We first spoke to Frank Siphon, a rancher in the Hill Country, on Saturday. He was truly heartbroken. He has seen the devastation from the floodwaters firsthand. From the Hunt store, completely damaged, nothing left of the Hunt post office, but bricks scattered. And even his ranch. The aftermath from the recent flooding tore through the communities along the Guadalupe River, leaving many like Frank at a loss of words. Today, Siphon tells us when we first spoke to him on Saturday, he was running on adrenaline, but he's now starting to feel better after seeing progress being made. When we caught up with him on Monday, his property was filled with piles of debris while first responders were searching the area. He tells us crews are still combing through his ranch, going through the piles of debris by hand. He also mentioned a crew with a kitchen was on his ranch cooking for the searchers and first responders, landing a helicopter right on his property. Siphon says this is the first time he has ever been in a disaster to this degree. But he also highlights the amount of people who are working together. He has even established new friendships.
I talked to a fireman yesterday who was standing there in front of me, and I'll leave his name out of it, but he was standing there in front of me in tears. And he said, "I'll never get over this." And I said, "Well, he said, you know what, Frank, when this is all done, we're going to get together and have a meal." And so we've established new friendships. We've established new friendships and new contacts, and the people that I have met are nothing short of spectacular. I'm nothing. Those people are the heroes. They're the ones that are out there, boots on the ground.
Siphon says what he's really seeing out there in the community is strangers helping strangers. I'm Taylor Whartonby reporting.
Definitely is a lot of that in Kerrville and surrounding counties. As recovery efforts continue in the Hill Country, first responders in Ingram are facing treacherous conditions on an 8-mile stretch of river. They say debris piles in some cases are 20 to 30 feet high and are slowing search efforts. But they're not alone. Along with several crews helping out, Mexican rescuers are Tapos Azteca. They're joining search and rescue efforts in the Hill Country. They're a group of Mexican volunteers rescuers formed after the 1985 earthquake that hit Mexico City, specializing in the search and rescue of people trapped in collapsed structures. And NASA is sending in help from the sky. They're deploying aircrafts as part of NASA's disaster response coordination system, something in the works between state agencies and FEMA for the next few days. They're going to be using technology to provide a high-resolution imagery of Central Texas's terrain and satellites to track conditions on the ground. Now, meanwhile, Adelaide May, a 9-year-old horse rider in Blueberry Stables in Converse, is doing her part to help. She set up a lemonade stand in Lavernia, where she's from, with an initial investment of 100 cups. Well, they sold out so quickly, she needed more and more. Adelaide raised more than $2,000, and the money is going to go help the flood victims rebuild their lives. It is a small gesture that's proving that anybody, big or small, can really make a difference. The San Antonio Food Bank also helping out. This is video of volunteers packing supplies for people in Kerr County and San Angelo. They packed more than 978 boxes, collecting more than 29,340 pounds of food in just a couple of hours. And each box is going to help feed a family of two, for 2 weeks rather. Now, as we head into break, we want to let you know that News 4 San Antonio is partnering with the Salvation Army for Sinclair Cares, Texas Tragedy Relief. If you want to help out, just scan the QR code to provide meals and hope to survivors and first responders who desperately need it right now. Well, it's been nearly a week since deadly floodings devastated parts of Kerr County. If you lost your Texas driver's license or state ID in the floods, you're not alone. The Kerr County Sheriff's Office wants to help you out. They're posting on social media that there is no appointment necessary for flood victims. Just let staff at these locations know that you were impacted by the floods. If your home or business was damaged in the recent flooding across the state, you can report it by visiting damage.tdem.texas.gov. This is going to help officials assess damage, support recovery efforts, and determine the state's eligibility for various forms of federal disasters. Well, many Hill Country businesses are hosting flood relief donation days. P. Terry Burger stands pledging 100% of profits from all 36 locations to Central Texas flood victims. We stopped by the location on Wurzbach Road, and the community showed their support. They showed out for fellow Texans. As you can see in the video, the line inside stretching out the door, along with the drive-through line wrapping around the building twice. Check that out. And President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump are set to visit Texas today. They're going to get to see the aftermath of the catastrophic flooding firsthand. And News 4 San Antonio's Jordan Elder joins us live with what we know about the president's plans. Good morning, Jordan.
Christina, good morning. When President Trump lands in Texas, he's expected to meet with first responders and families that have been impacted by this devastating flooding. He's also expected to take part in a roundtable with leaders here in Kerr County. The president said that he wanted to make a visit to Texas right after the disaster happened, but he didn't want to get in the way of rescuers and first responders. A lot of their operations were happening by air, and when a president visits, that airspace has to be shut down. Local officials have said that they're going to continue their search efforts today as the president visits. We know Congressman Pete Sessions and Tony Gonzalez will also be at the roundtable, along with Senator John Cornyn, who thanked the president for approving a disaster declaration for the floods.
Said whatever you need, and that message was reiterated by Secretary Noem, and of course the president agreed to a federal disaster declaration at the request of Governor Abbott on the spot.
Weather Service. Senator Cornyn said that in that speech, there's no evidence right now that there were any failures at the National Weather Service, but technology upgrades should be looked at. Flood sirens and alarms have also been a big topic of conversation since that deadly flooding. In an interview with NBC News on Thursday, the president voiced his support for a solution like that. We also know that in just a few weeks, lawmakers are going to head back to Austin for a special session. They're now tasked with discussing that as well. For now, reporting in Kerrville, I'm Jordan Elder.
All right, thanks so much. Well, this morning, new information is raising concerns about Kerr County's emergency notification system and if weather alerts on the morning of the 4th of July were delayed. News 4 San Antonio's Destiny Fuller has the latest on that.
A 4 a.m. dispatch call from an Ingram volunteer firefighter, realizing floodwaters in the hill country were rising quickly.
Is there any way we can send a code red out to our Hunt residents asking them to find higher ground or stay home?
10-4 standby. We have to get that approved with our supervisor.
Kerrville Mayor Joe Herring told reporters earlier this week an alert didn't come out until 6 a.m. That's 80 minutes after that first call. By then, it was already too late. Survivors sharing their confusion, asking what took so long.
We didn't get any warning. I usually get, Amber alerts on my phone or anything like that. We didn't get any until after it was all done.
Former Kerr County IT Director John David Trollinger was listening to the radio traffic that night.
The waters come up and the wall of water is heading down to Ingram. So you hear some radio traffic in a little bit that's going to warn people that warn to tone out Ingram that they need to start evacuating the RV park downriver.
Adding with heavy rains and low areas in the county, he already knew what to expect.
Someone needs to be paying attention and prepare people in our county for for an emergency. Someone should be ready at 1 o'clock when the Weather Service said that there's going to be a flash flood.
Saying authorities should have made the call hours earlier.
The 1 a.m. National Weather Service call would be my my pick. That would be the latest that an alert could have gone out to the public that could have saved lives.
For News 4, I'm Destiny Fuller.
Well, continuing our coverage, the body of a Tuscany Heights elementary schooler who went missing in the Hill Country has been recovered. 11-year-old Emmy Jeffrey went to actually visit her grandparents, Penny and Emmeline Jeffrey, for the 4th of July holiday. But all went missing shortly after the storms hit in Hunt. Penny and Emmeline's bodies were recovered, sadly, on Monday. A family in Hunt says rising floodwaters nearly trapped them in their attic, forcing them to act fast to stay alive. This video and photo shows a child watching water rise dangerously close to the attic. The family says that water rushed in fast, reaching chest levels within minutes. They called 911 but got no response, so they tied Christmas lights together as a rope to escape through the roof, but luckily the water stopped just in time.
Said, Papa, I think we're going to die. Are we going to die? And I told him, no, we are not.
And luckily they made it out. The family plans to rebuild. They have a GoFundMe site set up and we have a link on our website as well to help them out. The website is news4sanantonio.com with that link. Now, as we head into break, Kerr County leaders want to know if someone has heard from friends or family initially reported missing. You can call Emergency Operations Center at the number there on your screen. You can also email kerrvillemissing@dps.texas.gov. We also have this up on our website at news4sanantonio.com. Morning search crews are intensifying efforts continued in Center Point, and News 4 San Antonio's Tom Rousey has more on the growing number of volunteers helping out as well.
Whether by digging, by drone, or just on foot, the number of volunteers willing to help search for the missing has been unreal, but they need to know where they're most needed, so they come here.
We get the assignment here and they tell us what to do, and we'll go out there and do what we can.
At the Center Point Volunteer Fire Department, the folks working on the tailgate of this truck, who are volunteers themselves, send out searchers like Lindsay Bell and Audra Fuller.
The first thing we did was drop everything and come out here because we wanted to help.
Whenever there's something going on, like, we're going to be involved no matter what. Yeah, there was no question. It was just the only question was where. Just send us out.
Audra and Lindsay are among the many volunteers who have experience in disaster response and really know what they're doing.
This whole area down below was probably filled up about 20-30 foot of water.
United Cajun Navy and other groups are pumping that water out. They say a couple of RVs and a truck are submerged here, and it's not yet clear if the remains of victims are inside. In addition to all the volunteers, there are, of course, firefighters and professional search and rescue teams who have been working non-stop, such as the Center Point volunteer firefighters.
It's getting very meticulous. Now the river's really gone down. We've got some drier land. The sun came out. We can get some of this heavy equipment in there.
Everyone seems motivated by the same goal.
The families, loved ones, moms, dads, sons, they're all looking for their loved one right now, and they just want to bring them home, to bring closure.
Well, that was Tom Rousey reporting. In Ingram, first responders are facing treacherous conditions on an 8-mile stretch of river. They say debris piles in some cases are 20 to 30 feet high, and they're slowing search efforts. But they're not alone. Along with the several crews helping out, Mexican rescuers Topos Azteca are joining search and rescue efforts in the Hill Country. They're a group of Mexican volunteers. They're rescuers formed after the 1985 earthquake that hit Mexico City, specializing in finding people who are trapped in collapsed structures. And NASA is sending in help from the sky. They're deploying aircrafts as part of NASA's disaster response coordination system, something in the works between state agencies and FEMA. For the next few days, they'll be bussed in using housing and technology to provide high-resolution imagery of Central Texas's terrain and satellites to track conditions on the ground as well. As we head into break, we want to let you know that News 4 San Antonio is partnering with the Salvation Army for Sinclair Cares, Texas Tragedy Relief. If you want to help out, just scan the QR code to provide meals and hope to survivors and first responders who desperately need our help right now. Well, happening today, the UTSA community is coming together to honor victims of the Hill Country flooding. The university is holding a moment of reflection to honor the campus members who died. That includes Dr. Catherine Eates, senior. She's a senior lecturer in the Department of Psychology, Reese Menchaca, an architecture student, and Ella Cahill, a management student in the Alvarez College of Business. The moment of reflection takes place at noon in the Student Union Bear Room. And also today, South Texas Blood and Tissue Center is holding an emergency blood drive after the Hill Country flooding. It's happening from 9 a.m. until 2 today in the San Antonio Room on the first floor of the Alamo Area Council of Governments building. Appointments are encouraged, of course. And if you need help from FEMA, you can call their helpline at 1-800-621-3362. You can also go to disasterassistance.gov. This morning, we have dispatch audio where we hear calls for a code red emergency alert in Kerr County. It helps us piece together the time frame local officials have yet to share about their response when the Guadalupe was rising. An Ingram volunteer firefighter is heard telling a county sheriff dispatcher at 4:22 a.m. about the rising water, and he's requesting a code red. A code red is a notification system that some agencies use to send emergency alerts to subscribers' cell phones. Here is a clip of the audio that we've been able to obtain.
Is there any way we can send a code red out to our Hunt residents asking them to find higher ground or stay home?
10-4 standby. We have to get that approved with our supervisor.
Now, it's still unclear at what time code red alerts finally went out. Local officials have largely sidestepped questions about it. Kerrville Mayor Joe Herring Jr. telling reporters this week that the only notification that he received was at 6 a.m. That would be about an hour and a half later. We will, of course, continue to work to get those answers about the response. Well, right now, volunteers, rescue teams, and firefighters are working side by side in Center Point with the river going down and the banks drying out. Heavy equipment is moving in to dig. Texas game wardens and their canine partners are still searching as well. Since last Friday, wardens have made 444 rescues and more than 30 recoveries in the most impacted areas. Now, for many, last Friday's flood brought back memories of an eerily similar tragedy when the Guadalupe swelled back in 1987, killing 10 North Texas teenagers. Those victims, along with more than 30 others, were trying to escape a Hill Country summer camp when a wall of water washed over them. As a new tragedy unfolds, NBC's Allie Spilliards sat down with one of the survivors of that 1987 flood.
They hurried us up early that morning, maybe 6 or so, and said we needed to hurry up and get out of the camp, that there was some flooding in the area.
It's been 38 years and still Tara Chatham vividly remembers.
Our bus stalled out, and then the van that was behind us stalled out.
At 14 years old, she says she'd accepted death.
But all of a sudden, we were all holding hands, and a big wall of water just came and sent us all downriver.
On July 17, 1987, Chatham and her brother Scott were among the more than 40 students from Bulch Springs Christian Academy, forced to cling to trees in the swollen Guadalupe. Scott helped pull friends higher. Despite a battle with leukemia he'd soon lose. Chatham was swept further downstream.
I mean, it came so fast, though. The water was just rushing so fast.
10 students died that day. For years, Chatham did her best to bury the grief.
On a cloudy day at the Balch Springs Christian Academy,
She says she has no memory of sitting down with NBC5 in 1988.
About when I was in the river and when I was going under and everything.
Then Friday, it all resurfaced as history repeated itself. Once again, summer camp children among the dead and missing.
All of the pictures of the running river and the trees and the helicopters saving, it brought up a lot of the emotions.
While many can't begin to imagine the grief felt by those left behind, Chatham's walked in their shoes.
This is Sergeant Seal, so he's the one that risked his life. And he got out on the skids of the helicopter, and he's a state trooper, and pulled me up by the hair of my head and my shorts.
Having survived her own nightmare, she urges those just beginning theirs to lean on their faith.
That we have hope that we will see them again, and God will be with us and, carry us through.
Well, a large memorial is growing along Water Street in Kerrville, honoring the lives lost in Friday's flash flooding. Photos of each victim now line the area, drawing visitors from near and far. People have been stopping by to leave flowers, messages, and prayers. Among the memorial are photos of those who died and those still missing after the flood. Family and friends have also come by to pay tribute. The man who organized the memorial traveled from Florida to help make sure that each victim is remembered. Many who stop by say that it is very emotional and hard to leave without shedding a tear.
I have a 4-year-old. So seeing these angels, like a mom cries, it's true, we all cry.
He's right here. This is him right here, Coach Zunker. And
Teacher of the Year.
He was Teacher of the Year, yes. And then this is his children, and then that was his wife.
So sad. Organizers say that they plan to keep that memorial up all week. Grief counselors and support groups have also been stopping by to help those still processing this tremendous loss. Well, Adelaide May, a 9-year-old horse rider at Blueberry Stables in Converse, she's doing her part to help. Listen to this. She set up a lemonade stand in Lavernia, where she's from, with an initial investment of 100 cups. Well, they sold out quickly, and she needed more and more. Adelaide raised more than $2,000, money to help flood victims rebuild their lives. It is a small gesture that's proving that anybody, big or small, can really make a difference. San Antonio Food Bank also helping out. This is video of volunteers packing supplies for people in Kerr County and San Angelo. They packed more than 978 boxes, collecting more than 29,340 pounds of food in just a couple of hours. And each and every one of those boxes is going to help feed a family for a couple of weeks. Welcome back. We continue with our team coverage at 6:09 amid the ongoing search for the missing people from the deadly hill country flooding. Kerrville Pets Alive is working to find missing and deceased pets. News 4 San Antonio's Tani Davis live with what efforts the shelter is also putting forward. Good morning, Tani.
Good morning. Speaking with the woman who runs Kerrville Pets Alive, says they are now finding a lot of dead animals in the wreckage from that deadly flooding, most of them being dogs, and the ones who have survived suffered from various injuries, some worse than others. While the primary focus will continue to be finding missing people, the volunteers who are out looking for animals are also helping in that search. The shelter has come up with a strategy with Kerr County Animal Services and Austin Pets Alive, who came in to help, to create a database for lost and found pets. Donations have also come in, whether it's pet food, medication, and more, to support families who have lost everything but still have their pets.
We want to be able to support the pet owners. People right now have lost everything, and we want them to take care of themselves. Don't worry about your pet. We got you on your pet. Just bring them to us. We've got a veterinarian here on site, or we'll come to you. So we just want people to know, don't worry about your pet. We can help them out.
Guerrero says while they are still accepting food donations, they are asking for monetary donations as well to help them get what they need. Now, the best thing people can do right now is to stay home and share Kerrville Pets Alive Lost and Found Alive report. Guerrero encourages pet owners to have hope, as they've already had a lot of reunifications, and they say they will not be leaving any pets behind. Reporting live, I'm Tawny Davis.
Well, it has been 1 week since a deadly flooding disaster in Kerr County. Survivors still in shock. Jack Halmon says he wasn't home when the flood hit and nothing could have prepared him for what he saw when he returned. News 4 San Antonio's Karina Hollingsworth has that story.
What the hell am I going to do? You know, I'm 75 years old. Lost my wife. Now I'm home.
Halmon's wife died 8 months ago. He fears she wouldn't have survived the flood if she was home. The house, flooded with over 5 feet of water, currently has no floors and is filled with mud.
Our insurance company 2 months ago canceled all our flood insurance with no warning. They just sent letters out, we're not covering flood anymore. So we're stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Halmon feels the world is caging in on him and his neighbors as they try to pick up what's left of their homes. They've had to face an issue they never imagined: looting.
All our tools of that house, this house, somebody came through and stole all of it. That's our world. That's our world. There is no empathy for anybody.
With tears swelling in his eyes, Halmon walked through what was once his home.
That room right there was all the way back on this corner of the slab.
Thinking about the what ifs is hard for Halmon.
But I realize there are many people up and down this river that need help, so I'm alive.
Well, so glad he is. You know, Halmon told us he doesn't know where he'll go from here. He's lived in the area for 25 years. He hopes to one day rebuild his home, but if he does, he hopes a flood warning system will be installed.